So with that, I found this meme that I was going to send to John and get him to put up, but it was oriented incorrectly, which is a problem, and the print was kind of small. So I figured, rather than have you squinting to try and read it, I would just share it with you. And it was titled Ancestral Mathematics. So I don't know if anybody else saw it, but Ancestral Mathematics. And so this is what it says. To be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third, 64 fourth, 128 fifth, 256 sixths, 512 sevenths, 1,024 eighths, 2,048 ninths. And so for you to be born today, like for you to be here, from 12 previous generations, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years, give or take. And so the meme goes on to say, think about all of those lives, all of the struggles that they endured, all of the joys. They at least had the joy of at least one child, because, the mathematics and says that had to happen. But there's so much happened in those lives. 4,000 plus people had to be, over the last 400 years, had to be involved in you being here. I read that and I thought, wow, like that, right? Like we know that there's like a whole group of people that precede us, but that was like a little eye-opening to think about it. That 4,000, so 10 people every year had to exist on average in order for me to be here. Okay. So then I started thinking about the fact that this is Anniversary Sunday. And so I wanted to say so first of all, anniversaries in churches are weird, right? How do we decide when to celebrate the anniversary of a church? Is it the day that the doors opened of this building? Is it the days that the doors opened on a previous building? Is it the days where people met in a living room thinking about and dreaming about a church? Is it the day that somebody, somewhere, first thought, I think we need a church here. Let's invite some of the neighbors and see if they agree. Is it when God, through the Spirit, puts it in that person's mind or in their heart to do so? It's kind of a moving target depending on how you think about answering that question. But here's the thing. I think that today is the perfect day to have an Anniversary Sunday. Today is All Saints Sunday. So it's a day when we take time to think about, to remember all of the people who, all the saints. So think about all the saints in your life. All of the people who have brought you to being in this place. So not just the 4,000 people who were involved in the eventual birth of you, but all of the people who have had an impact, who have strengthened you, who have challenged you, who have been your bane. Right? That person you just, I have a couple of those people I played soccer with, right? And I had to become a better soccer player because I had to beat them. That was the thing. I played right back, right defense, and I had people who I said, they are never getting past me. I might have broken a couple of rules from time to time to ensure that didn't happen. I never killed anybody and I never maimed anybody, but like all of those people who have kind of been that in your life. So you might have noticed, it was on the screen, that the title of today's sermon is Standing on the Shoulders of Giants. The person who I first heard that from is one of those people in my life. His name is Philip McShane. He was a Jesuit priest who left the priesthood in order to marry a United Church minister. But he was a professor at Mount St. Vincent University, the university that I went to do my undergrad degree. And Phil would regularly talk about the fact that we stand on the shoulders of giants. That we come to this place, but there are so many people who have preceded us, who have shaped us, whether they knew it or not, and whether we knew it or not. Whether I knew that Thomas Aquinas, a Catholic theologian, would impact my faith the way that he has, even though he died like hundreds of years ago. Or Gregory Baum, another Catholic. Or Gustav Gutierrez, another Catholic. So there, right? There are so many. Lois Wilson, who was once our moderator, who I've had the joy and pleasure of meeting and dining with. Having these people who have established something that allowed me, not only allowed, but encouraged and challenged me to move forward in what I discovered in them. So I discovered something there, and it pushed me. It pushed me to do something different. I would not be, I can tell you without any reservation, that I would not be standing here in front of you, and I would not be the minister that I am without a whole collection of people who have been behind me and supporting me. I once chaired a committee at the General Counsel Office, Justice, Global, and Ecumenical Relations, and it just so happened that a professor of mine, not Phil, Martin Rumscheit, United Church minister, prophet AST, he was on the committee. And he was getting ready to leave. He had retired. He was getting ready to leave, and so we did the whole big kumbaya circle in the meeting room, and everybody's going around, and so he wasn't the only one, but so we feted all of the people who were leaving, and then they were given an opportunity to speak. And Martin, when his time came, he looked around the room, and he looked at me, and he said, it does my heart good to know that as I leave, I have influenced others, and I feel confident in the direction that the church is moving because of the strength of the people who are following me. I was like, oh my God, right? I didn't know what to say. And I've had all kinds of those experiences where those who I have looked to, whose shoulders I stand on, have actually come to me and said, and looked to me for leadership. And that's what we do as the church. That's what we do as the saints who have gathered in the name throughout the ages. We have 2,000 years of Christianity, and we have thousands of years of Judaism, which then forms a foundation for us before that. And the truth has been communicated through all of those people, all of those scriptures, all of those words, all of those reflections to bring us to this place. And I mean, that's on a grand scale, right? That's kind of on a grand scale. But we have been blessed in this congregation, and this year on All Saints Sunday, I know that there isn't a single person here who's sitting who isn't thinking about some of the people who we have recently had to say goodbye to. We have a wonderful music program here at this church. If it wasn't for Val Spear, that would not be true. If it wasn't for Val holding the music program of this church together at times, facing the challenges of working with diverse people in the choir, and you're all lovely saints, but sometimes I'm sure you can be challenging. you know? But Val left a library of music here that we can't use it all. And some of it's already gone off to other places, and others will go off somewhere else. But what a gift Val Spear was to this church. And then if we think about this church and churches that preceded it, you know, Bill Davies, I mean, but that's only this year. What about John Pliley? What about, you know, like, think of all of the people who have sat in these pews before you, who you have been blessed to have them touch your life. Those are the saints that we remember, and that's what an anniversary brings to our minds and to our hearts. All of that positive impact that has been communicated to us through the saints that remind us and lead us back to our scripture and the God to whom it points. And here's the other part of it, though, and I'm going to wrap up soon, but here's the other part of it. For all of those people in your life who offered support and challenge and compassion and guidance, and today, you are that person in someone else's life. In 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, there will be, I hope, someone else standing in a pulpit like this or standing in front of a classroom and remembering those who impacted their lives, and God willing, I will be amongst those numbers, and so will you. I can tell you that there are people in this congregation who have changed me just by knowing you. Just by knowing you. That this congregation has taught me something that I had never learned before. I'm not going to tell you what it is. But that is such a gift. It is such a gift. And it is something to be celebrated. And so we set aside one day a year to remember all of the saints who have been in our lives. Those we liked and those we didn't. Those who loved us and those who didn't. But every person who has been in your life in some way is a saint. And I know that's hard to believe, but it is true. And we take this time to celebrate this church. In 2025, the United Church will turn 100 years old. And in that 100 years, it has offered a beacon to our society. I say that unreservedly. We are not perfect. We have done all kinds of stuff wrong. But we have been a beacon. We've been a beacon. In 2024, this church will celebrate 200 years. And it has been a beacon in this community. It has offered invitation to people who were otherwise uninvited. It has offered welcome to people who otherwise were unwelcome. It has offered love to people who otherwise were unloved or believed themselves to be. So on this anniversary Sunday, let us celebrate this church. And on this All Saints Sunday, let us celebrate all of the saints who have been in our lives. But also, let's celebrate ourselves because we are saints and we are that person in someone else's life. Thanks be to God.